Welcome to the Heavy Pour with James and Alyssa.
Today we're going to be talking about a really interesting beer. First off, let's say that we just came out of the Great American Beer Festival.
True story.
And this was one that we really enjoyed there, so we're really excited to share it with you guys.
Yeah, it's so... I've only been to the Great American Beer Festival once before.
And this was my first time.
It's a chaotic experience.
Yeah.
There are so many people, so many beers.
But
you
you
really
can-
have to have the intention of taking notes.
Yes.
Writing down the beers that are special to you, because you're
Yeah.
going to have a bunch of them. This was top 10 for me.
Yeah, it was one that we were aware of before going in,
Yeah.
but hadn't experienced before.
Yeah.
And we're lucky enough to get to try while we were there, and it stuck with us, so we're really excited to be able to review it formally.
Yeah.
So with that being said, this is Brouwerij West, and the beer is called Dig My Earth.
Dig My Earth. It's
Yes.
a double IPA.
Yeah, and I'd really like to first and foremost mention the can art. It is very cool. If you can't see it, we will also have a picture of it up
Yeah,
on
we'll
our
have some
Instagram. It's really interesting. It's really unique. It's beautiful, but also disturbing. It's a
fox being sectioned.
Yeah.
And he seems okay with it.
Yeah, so their art is very interesting, very unique. We always really like to see that in a beer anyway, whether we've tried the beer or not. That's something we're really excited about. And yeah.
Any collaboration between an artist and a brewery, we have a lot of respect for that.
We've done a bit of reviews on those. We will continue to do so because we find those so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk more about this beer specifically. It is a DIPA, a hazy New England DIPA to be specific. The ABV, I believe, is 8%.
8.0.
8%, yep.
Yeah. With the hops included being Amarillo, Simcoe, and Centennial, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the New England style, I'm expecting Citra and more fruit-forward hops.
Sure. But this is a brewery that comes out of California. It's the San Pedro area of California. So at the same time, those hops do sound very West Coast specific. So it'll be interesting to really dive into
to see how they pull that
dynamic.
off.
Yeah.
And I think that my expectation as far as this beer is concerned is since they use these hops, since they pulled off a New England style IPA, I'm expecting a lot of malt balance. I'm expecting some sweetness from the malt to sort of give it that fruity character, to pull the fruity character from these West Coast hops.
Are you expecting to encounter a lot of the characteristics that are traditional with those hops in the West Coast style?
I don't know. Maybe we're looking at an East meets West sort of style of beer.
It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I'm looking forward to it.
Let's dig in.
Let's dig in. I'm pouring my first.
Usually that's the case.
Hey. And I pour mine heavier.
Yeah. Also the case.
But we'll be generous this time.
Oh, look at you.
Oh, I just still had some in the can.
That's okay.
Okay.
Let's take a look. It's really nice, just even.
It looks like a New England style IPA.
Yeah.
It is hazy. It is pale in character. It's not bright.
No.
It's sort of a muted yellow.
Agreed. Yeah. The head looks very.
Head's nice.
Yeah.
Good
Very
lacing.
nice. It's
very white.
It's very white. It's very smooth. Very fluffy.
Yeah. So.
But you were pouring that pretty quickly, and it didn't overwhelm.
It didn't.
So I think it was just the right
Yeah.
carbonation.
And there is some fine particulate matter. It's always nice to see that.
Yes, we do enjoy to see that in our New England
this
styles.
looks like a classic snow globe of a beer.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you encounter New England IPAs, you get these huge chunks of hop resin, and it's kind of a turnoff when you encounter that.
Or you get the other end of it where there isn't any, and
there's
you're wondering
none.
how they can classify it as hazy,
Right.
unfiltered.
This is
but
a very hazy
good
beer.
Yeah, this is a great balance of all those things.
Yeah, so I know that right off the bat, the hop resin isn't going to influence your mouthfeel as much as some of those thicker, more densely particulate matter filled beers.
Yeah.
sometimes I encounter a beer where the mouthfeel is so syrupy because of that.
And
this
we've
isn't
also
any of
had
that.
some that were just like so unfiltered that they were almost you couldn't drink it because you felt like you were chewing it.
Yeah,
That's not a great experience
too much.
either. We love unfiltered beers, but there's a point
There's a
where it
limit.
becomes too much. Yeah. But this looks like it will not be that way.
Yeah, and I'm really loving the lacing.
It's great lacing. Yeah.
That's just a beautiful beer. So
Right.
appearance so far perfect.
Yeah. Let's give it a nose.
Yeah. Again, meeting my expectations. I don't think it is as strongly dry hopped as some of the bigger DIPAs I've had. It's a little bit more subtle, but the hop presence, it strikes me as pretty resiny.
I don't disagree. I think that just based on the nose, it kind of meets my expectation of being more of a West meets East instead of an East all the way.
Can you pull out?
I think I'm getting a little more of the piney, resiny note that you would expect from a West Coast than you would expect from an East Coast.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm also getting a little bit of like an apricot, like a really juicy, fleshy apricot nectarine style fruit.
Yeah, you just nailed it with those two notes. I am experiencing exactly the same thing.
Yeah. But not juicy. I wouldn't consider it juicy.
For me, it's a candied apricot.
Yeah.
It's a little bit sweet on the nose.
Sure.
You want to give it a taste?
Let's give it a taste. Wow.
Yeah. There's some serious complexity there.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go right back to the same phrase. I think it's West meets East. I don't think it's East Coast all the way, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think that might be what sets it a little bit apart. But I think there's a lot more earthy, resiny notes than you would expect from a New England style.
I completely agree. I think that this is a celebration of the three hops included. Their presence is so forward and so articulate. Whoever designed this beer knew exactly what these hops were capable of, and tried to have a beer that was malt balanced enough to sort of just prop them up on a pedestal. I can taste just that super complex hop character.
Absolutely. But they did a good job of adding in a little bit of the juiciness that you would expect from a New England.
Yeah, because it does have that New England appearance, New England feel, New England mouth feel, even.
Yep.
But it has a very West Coast style hop character.
Yes. They did a really good job of balancing the hops and the malt. Yeah, it's a solid New England. I think that just to straight up call it a New England might be the only misstep for me.
Yeah.
Because there is so much more complexity.
We should talk about that a little bit.
Let's talk about it.
Because what is your definition of a New England IPA?
That is a great point.
Does it need to have fruit forward hops? Can it have more piney, grassy, bitter hops from the West? I'm not sure. Is just an unfiltered big DIPA enough to say it's New England?
Or is it its own thing?
Is it its own thing? I don't know.
That's an interesting take.
It depends on your personal definition, because I don't think there is necessarily a standard definition of a New England style IPA.
That's
I
a
think
really good point.
everyone's interpretation is going to be different. And this brewery, they have obviously a passion for breaking the rules a little bit.
Yeah.
And I have so
Clearly.
much respect for taking that approach.
Absolutely, I do too. Also, it should be probably mentioned that I tend to lean a little more toward the New England style because I don't really like the piney, resiny notes as much as the citrusy, fruity, malty, backboned notes. But I would also say that if you are one of those people like me who tends more toward the New England style, this might be a good stepping stone into the West Coast style, because I think it's balanced so well that you can get some of those West Coast notes and they're not as offensive as they could be to you if you were just completely
I agree.
on the opposite side.
Because of the malt balance of this beer, I'm getting notes like vanilla. I'm getting a couple sweeter notes that sort of cut through that ultra bitterness of the hops included. So as far as being a gateway beer to the West, this might be the golden ticket.
Sure. And I think that DIPAs are kind of a hard area to jump into in general. But if you do, and you start on the East Coast side with those big juice bombs, and you're wanting to get a little more into the West Coast style, this is a great jumping off point.
I completely agree.
But just, even if you're not trying to jump into one or the other, I think it's just a really nicely balanced beer, period.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
How would you score this?
Oh, I think I'm going to give it a 4. It's a really interesting, really unique, really innovative beer. It's so well balanced. It's got the best of the West meets the best of the East. Their art is fantastic. I think overall I'm probably going to give them a 4, and I'm going to seek out more from this brewery in the future.
Yeah. I'm very conflicted because I want to score this beer very high. My expectations toward a New England style IPA were a little bit disappointed because I'm expecting a little bit more fruit character.
Sure.
But what I was faced with was something unique and something challenging. So I think ultimately this is extremely strong for me. I think this is a 4.5 for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. That's great, because it's a great beer.
It's an extremely memorable DIPA.
Very memorable. And we were so fortunate to get to taste them at the Great American Beer Fest and meet some of the people who were working there.
Yeah.
And like I said, we will definitely be seeking them out in the future.
Yeah. Brouwerij West.
Yeah. Thank you so much for such a great beer.
Amazing stuff.
And try it if you find it, for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks for joining us.